My name's Kerry King. I'm probably God's biggest enemy, and I play in Slayer. Man, you're asking hard questions. Punk rock show. I'm gonna have to say Suicidal.
I'm the reggae, I'm just die. I'm gonna shoot you, get out of your mind. You're running heaven, an angel's voice.
I know I saw him, and I know I saw a bunch more, but it's just not coming to mind. And we just did a tour with Suicidal, so I know I saw him early on, and you know, now it's Mike Muir and the Suicidals more than anything else, but it's cool as hell. You know, I mean, he's a superstar, and he comes out and he does his Mike Muir thing, and it gave me goosebumps when I saw it last summer. I wouldn't even know what the teams are. And I wish I saw Ozzy Osbourne with Randy Rhoads. That was pretty cool. Who's gone now that I didn't see? Tough questions, my friend. I saw Priest. I saw Van Halen. I saw Foghat. I know there's one really important that I always tell somebody. Oh, I wish I would have seen AC/DC with Bon Scott.
You can say she got it.
Because I have one that Danny Way had done. Man, could have been late 90s or early turn of the century. Danny Way was doing the big ramp they had in San Diego County somewhere, and we're all standing on one end, me, Jeff, and Tom, and he's doing tricks over us. And I got that in my music room. I mean, I can go home and take a picture of it and send it to you. I'm kind of partial to the Adolescents.
I never travel to the house. I had children raising right to working mouse. I had children hate when they mess noise. I had children.
That's my answer today, and I'm sure people are gonna hate it, and I'm sure people are gonna love it. Favorite skateboarder? I only know mainstream anymore, you know, like X Games stuff, and I've seen Tony Hawk do a number of amazing things. I've seen Danny Way do a number of amazing things. I've seen a lot of other people do a ton of amazing things, but to beat a dead horse, I'd have to say Danny Way and the super ramp stuff. That's just next level shit right there. That's super tough. I could say Tony Cadena.
I'm not accepted by my peers. So what? I could go less about the queers. They're fine, but kids are hot, full of cheers. Please.
Because I like Adolescents. I like Casey from D.R.I.
We used to look up to you. Johnny's got a problem. It's out of control, got static on the brain. Out of control now. Johnny.
I forget the kid's name, and not the kid anymore, but dude in D.R.I. Always was partial to them, but they were more, I mean, they were punk, and then they were one of the first crossover punk bands, so I don't know if that counts. Yeah, love Tony Cadena. I'll stay there. It was so remedial when I skated. I mean, that was probably just the beginning of people customizing their own stuff, you know. I remember we used to call them banana boards. That's like a real term or anything, but that's what we called them. And other than that, yeah, I just seen the stuff that our logo's on. That's really tough. Something it may or may not be the best show I ever saw, but the first time I saw Priest, I saw them on Point of Entry, and Iron Maiden opened for him.
Behind you, his bloodlusted father, his
I want to say Killers, because I don't think I saw them on their first album, so it would have been Priest, Point of Entry, and Iron Maiden, Killers. That was just, I didn't expect Iron Maiden to be as good as they were. I just thought they were an opening act. I didn't know much about them, and that was just a killer show. Message to the youth: obviously do what you want, because you know more than anybody what you want to do. That's what we tried to do, and we definitely turned heads and pissed off a lot of people, and here we are 30 years later playing a Converse party, so I think we did some shit right. I could blow off 10 real easy, but I'm going to go Highway to Hell, AC/DC.
Get it high! Get it high!
It's probably the best and the worst thing, travel. Because I get paid to go all over the world, places I would never in a million years go on my own, and that's really cool, but the travel part of it is what sucks. I mean, it sounds great, and it sounds like, oh, you get to go business class, you get to go first class, and yeah, I do, and I still get delayed, and I still get thrown into lounges, and it's the waiting game, and the waiting game's what sucks. What was that show called in Jacksonville?
Welcome to Rockville.
Rockville. We did this festival, and like there's tornado warnings and just hellish weather going through when a bunch of my friends' exes got canceled. Fozzy got canceled. Testament played like a half show. And I was hanging with Chris Jericho. That night, it was an old friend of mine. And he's my coolest dude this week because I haven't seen too many people.
I actually was telling someone about this. Maybe Slayer. Backyard of Van Margera's house. That was pretty sick. You can't top that. Dan Tag doing the fucking ballerina dance in the middle of the pit. Yeah, I'm going with that one.
The BAM show, it was really cool. You know, we kind of went out there, and I'm trying to remember the timeline. I think it was right after God Hates Us All, but you know, you never know what you're going to get in a situation like that. So we went out there and hung out with BAM, did some cameo stuff for the show, and went out on stage. And that show was pretty. It was. I've played worse stages than that, and that was basically in his backyard. So it was definitely a pro thing that I didn't expect, and sounded great. I'm sure he pissed off some of his neighbors, and fans loved it. It was awesome day. I think it's Slayer X Games more all encompassing, because what the skateboarders do, what the BMXers do, what everybody in that sport does is extreme. What we do is extreme, and it really goes hand in hand, because if you're doing extreme things, you want to hear extreme music. At least I would. And it just, as long as we keep putting out stuff that they like, and it helps them keep pushing their limits, that's a cool way to marry the two. We're sitting at a hotel on the river in Germany. I can't remember what we were doing out there. I had a day off or something, and I see this guy sitting at one of the tables next to me. He's like, "Hey, Kerry, what's going on?" I'm like, "All right, trying to put it together. It's early in the morning. I was sleepy. Early for me, noon, whatever." So I come back and sit next to my tour manager and Gary Holt, and they're like, "Hey man, who was that?" I said, "I thought it was Bam." And they're like, "No man, that ain't Bam." I'm like, "Dude, I looked this guy in the face. That's Bam. I know it's Bam." And you know, we kind of just left it at that. I go upstairs, and one of them had the balls to go up and, you know, find out who it was for sure, and it was Bam. But we had a big quandary. Is that Bam? I'm like, "Yeah, dude, that's Bam." I hadn't seen him since that TV show, pretty much, and this was like a year ago. I don't know anything about them other than they're hanging on my wall, you know. But I know it's a real company, and the artwork that they've done for us is great. I think it's finally coming out in August. We recorded for quite a while. We started like end of August, probably finished like somewhere in January. Did my last leads, and then they went to the mixers and the masters and all that stuff. We're still picking out artwork, but other than that, I think it's ready to get pushed through the whatever has to go through to come out. It's insane, you know. I think it's, if you like any part of what Slayer's been historically, it's on this record. Not really, man. I mean, I think the well isn't dry, but it's certainly getting harder to find the new metal that I'm into, or new punk for that matter. I think there's probably punk bands out there that I just haven't heard of, because it's way more of an underground kind of movement than a new metal band would be. So my hopes are higher for a new punk band.
When I go down the street, the people watch me shiver and shake. I'm a prisoner of a demon, I think my head's about to break. Stays with me wherever I go, I can't break away from the soul. This must be my punishment for stealing my soul. Too much pressure, my pulse rise, my heart pounds, my head hurts. I can take it all, the pressure of all the things inside of me. Everywhere I look, I see him, everywhere I go to ride. What did I do